Once upon a time, there was a movie that brought comedy and fairy tale together in beautiful harmony, thereby spawning some beautiful and crazy costumes. Eiko Ishioka died between production and release of this movie, and there is a dedication to her at the end. As they say, if this is to be our end, then I would have them make such an end, so as to be worthy of remembrance. The costumes in this film are glorious, and are, indeed, a fitting bang to go out by. So let's remember Eiko. The costumes here really represent the specific brand of wacky that is this movie. They are the perfect mix of classic fairy tale beauty and just crazy weirdness. Plus, the characters often talk about and bring attention to what they're wearing.
Seeing you in this dress has caused me to lose my words.
Look how she's dressed me, sire, like a pink profiterole.
And the detailing on it all. Embroidery, fabric manipulation, pleats, gathers, pin tucks, thread-covered buttons, lace. A lot of the understructures in this movie are overly excessive. This woman's sleeves most probably do not require this whole cage. The prince's servant probably did not actually require a corset, shoulder pads, and hip pads to achieve the silhouette he is shown in earlier. It is all for comedic effect, exaggerating historical understructures that did indeed exist in the past. This movie's costumes are full of historical inspiration from all different eras, despite being fantasy. And I can't help yelping for joy whenever I see a drum farthingale or a partlet. Yet the greatness here is bringing the historical and the modern together in glorious mishmash, bringing to life a wonderful world in which fairy tale thrives. Snow White starts out the movie wearing a pink and yellow fairy tale dress, appliqued, embroidered, and brocaded with flowers, which gives off an innocent little girl vibe. She doesn't know what's going on in her kingdom. This is also the most historically inspired of her ensembles, showing that she is under the thumb of her stepmother, who wears mostly historically inspired clothing. She tries to keep her out of sight, and therefore out of the running as a rival, as ruler of the kingdom. With some encouragement,
perhaps you need to see for yourself what goes on in your kingdom.
She hides herself in a smooth yellow satin cloak to investigate the outside world, showing that she is not yet ready to stand against the world on her own. Back in her naive dress, she decides something must be done about the poverty she saw outside, and plans to crash the ball so as to ask for help from a newly arrived outside party.
He could help us take back the kingdom.
And crash the ball she does, splendid and confident in swan white, complete with swan head and wings. She presents her case to the prince, ready for him to save her.
I would hope that a good-hearted prince like yourself,
and along the way starts to fall in love with him. She falls from her splendor, or rather her splendor falls from her, when she is caught in her treachery by the queen, and her swan head falls off, perhaps symbolizing her actual head, which is in danger of being struck off. She stands up for her people.
I've seen what you did to the people.
And herself.
I'm the rightful leader of this kingdom.
But the queen still easily sends her in shame into the forest, where her wings are no more, and her once white dress is all dirty and no longer princess-worthy. There, she finds the dwarves, and works her way into their hearts.
These brave men are the true heroes.
After some deliberation, they decide to make her one of their own. But they have conditions.
If you're gonna live with us, you have to be one of us.
I have to be a dwarf?
Be a thief.
And so they set out to teach her to believe in herself and craft her a new image. And so Snow becomes a warrior. Her bandit garb, a blue shirt, black embroidered waist cincher, and black white pants help her with the physical activity needed for that enterprise. Snow starts believing in herself and gains the confidence needed to go up against the queen. She covers herself in a cloak, hiding who she is so she can more easily save the kingdom. But when her identity is found out, she sheds her deception and gets on with achieving her bandity goals by trying to rob the representative of the queen who she once thought was on her side, the prince. She is not waiting for someone else to come save her kingdom. She has a plan, and she is going to make that plan a reality. She succeeds in besting the prince, saves the dwarves from the queen's puppet minions, and, once deciding that the prince is not a traitor to her cause, she crashes that wedding to rescue him. When it becomes apparent that the prince needs further rescuing,
the kiss of true love is what liberates someone from a spell.
She still feels self-conscious and unready for the task, and so she lets the dwarves take care of her one last time.
Do not mess with me on this.
By applying makeup and hairstyle. Her new look gives her the confidence to take things into her own hands by kissing the prince, thus liberating him from his love potion. She then further cements her position as savior of all by not letting the prince or dwarves save her from the beast, but doing it herself.
I read so many stories where the prince saves the princess in the end. I think it's time we change that ending.
And so she rips the queen's necklace off the beast, revealing it to be her father, and thus breaking the queen's magic and hold over the kingdom and her life. And so she lives happily ever after by wedding the prince in a glorious gown of blue and orange, two colors on opposite sides of the color wheel, forming a striking combination worthy of any happy ending. And ooh, the smocking, the lace, the huge bow! This is also the first time Snow White dons a tiara, showing her stepping into her own as the royal princess. The queen's color is gold.
Gold is my lucky color.
The queen starts out the movie presiding over the chessboard that represents her hold on her kingdom and subjects, in a peach gown with a little golden embroidery, symbolizing the majesty with which she wishes to be seen. She takes up as much space as she can, with the skirt splayed all over the huge chair. However, all this splendor is covering up a hard truth.
The kingdom is close to destitute.
The queen does not rule well. She must find a solution. She receives an offer of marriage, but turns it down. And so she comes into her full golden glory, planning to rule supreme over the land in this glorious gown, even if her dominance is not complete. She envies she who still has some hold on the land. Still in her gold gown, a solution to the queen's problems presents itself while she is choosing shoes, a symbol of all the opulence she might lose.
He's young, handsome, and semi-nude.
She can't believe her luck, and so she orders a ball to secure her prize. An objective that merits the spa sequence of a lifetime, featuring bird poop, snakes, bugs, and fruit.
Try not to enjoy this, Baker lady.
The queen shows up to the ball in her red peacock gown, showing that she is coming not as queen, but as passionate lover to the prince. She still shows her subjects who's boss, though, by strutting her white tail feathers. However, all this peacocking does her no good, for the prince pays her no mind, and flocks instead to, of all people, her rival, Snow White. Eager to fix this temporary setback in her plans, the queen disposes of the inconvenience
I want her killed.
and dons a fabulous white silk dressing gown, embroidered with her signature majestic gold, so she can move on to plan her great future with the prince, decked out in dark green finery, symbolizing her new plans. Her low white ruff and lack of gold symbolize her try at informality and connection in this setting. Something that changes completely when he fails his mission and she returns to her big queenly ruff, sitting in judgment for his failings in a great gold gown. The ruff disappears, though, along with her confidence, when she goes to visit her alter ego, trying to figure out what happened. Her majesty softens even more when she is trying to seem non-threatening in her dressing gown, when she is trying to seduce the prince by feeding him a love potion. Her outfit is still gold and bombastic, with that brocade and those shoulders, but she deigns to be vulnerable somewhat, even though it is a manipulation designed to make him drink the potion. It doesn't really work to her satisfaction, though. It's the wrong sort of love.
Love. Puppy?
But it does the trick anyway.
What I need you to do is marry me.
I will.
She prepares herself for her big triumph by getting cinched into a wooden-looking corset with a crinoline attached, and shows up to her big day in a glamorous white wedding gown made of petals all down the bodice and the skirt, crowned with crystals. There is no gold in sight. She is ready to be the blushing bride, with no need to be the strong gold queen. But all her plans are dashed when she finds the prince missing. And so she returns to her queenly gold garb, but covers herself in a big, dark cloak, symbolizing her showing up and getting her hands dirty to kill the object of her envy, herself.
If you want someone dead, you have to do it yourself.
But even now, she sends her beast after Snow and stands back in her golden glory, waiting for it to succeed in achieving her dreams. But Snow prevails, and so the queen pays the price for her envy and vanity and obsession with being always on top. The queen last appears at the wedding of she who she envies, humbled, trying to disguise herself in a large cloak, no gold in sight. She is recognized, however, and defeated, and her magical land shatters into a million pieces. We first meet the prince traveling in the woods.
Seeking an adventure.
The prince sports a white shirt, dark breeches that meet knee-high boots, and a swishy greatcoat. All this is his basic garb, and symbolizes his princely identity. Whenever he is made to change it, it means something. The prince finds his adventure in the shape of bandits.
Giants!
When he finds out they are not, in fact, giants, he tries to take them on, for which endeavor he removes his coat, stripping him from his previous failure in beating them. However, having insulted them,
To teach a lesson to these children.
he finds himself hanging from a tree in his white linen underpants. They are helped down by a mysterious girl in the woods. The prince denies his identity, seeing as he is not wearing his identity clothes,
I'm but a humble commoner.
because he is too proud to admit that he was bested by dwarves.
Bloodthirsty giants.
Giants!
A lie he changes slightly when he is brought before the queen,
Please pardon our dress. We're robbed by bandits.
though he does not deny who he is.
Prince Alcott of Valencia.
The queen deigns to grant him the barest respect in the form of a blanket to cover himself. The gold tassels, her color, symbolize her beginning to take ownership of him. The prince's humiliation at the hands of the queen continues when she provides him with a rabbit costume for the ball.
Or perhaps you prefer your guests feel out of control and slightly uncomfortable.
He takes it somewhat in stride when meeting Snow White, though.
I look like an idiot.
Yes, a little bit.
The queen further dresses the prince in silly finery to her liking, but he takes a stand and rips out the frills, and thus her influence, so that he can better search for the woman of his dreams. Snow White.
The most beautiful girl I've ever seen.
This is the closest he's come since the beginning of the movie to his original look, which gives him the ability to field advances from the queen.
I have a proposition for you.
Though now he has a waistcoat, showing that he is being brought closer to the formality of the queen's royal court. He grabs his greatcoat to rush out to save the kingdom from the bandits he met previously,
Bandits.
Bandits.
bringing him even closer to his original look and identity. But when Snow White shows up in disguise to derail his plans, he realizes he must fight her. So he fluffs up his greatcoat to get ready to do so. And when the fighting gets intense, he dramatically takes off the coat, shedding who he thought he was, and helping him to fight his enemies, which now includes Snow White, with better range of motion. She tries to make him understand that the queen is manipulating him to achieve her goals,
That is absurd.
but that doesn't go over so well. Finding himself back before the queen in his underpants again, he questions the reality he finds himself in.
Bandit's leader is Snow White. He told me she was dead. I find this current line of events to be completely confusing.
He comes back to himself, dressed again in a slightly different version of princely garments, in his usual white shirt and dark trousers, but this time with a cream brocade waistcoat with some gold, showing that he is coming further under the queen's influence. He is hurtled even further into a future under the queen's thumb when the queen poisons him with a love potion, a future that comes into fruition when he dresses fully in the queen's color, gold, for their wedding. He wears a long gold coat, not as flared as his usual style, with a longer waistcoat than he has ever worn, showing his complete transformation into the queen's lapdog. Having been rescued from his predicament, he sits with his jacket discarded, representing his physical distance from the queen, but he still pines after her in the rest of his wedding garb.
I yearn for the nectar of her skin.
After surviving various forms of head trauma, he is, kissed against his will, which has the desired effect of transitioning him back into himself.
Thank you for saving me.
He is back in his original clothes now, brown greatcoat, no waistcoat. He fights with Snow White against the queen's minion, a feat which finally wins him his dream.
There is but one thing I desire.
To his wedding, the prince wears a red military-looking jacket, symbolizing his passion for Snow White. There are gold trim and tassels, but now, instead of meaning he is under the queen's thrall, it shows his highness is royalty in his own right, ready to take on anything thrown his way. Or maybe it means something else entirely. All this is, of course, only my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think the costumes mean. I'd love to hear your ideas. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications about future videos. Goodbye!